privacy and security, you call it like a dynamic duo, which I really like. And that you can actually use these two things to innovate rather than inhibit what you're trying to do from a product standpoint. Do you mind kind of just elaborating a little bit on this dynamic duo?
I will elaborate on the dynamic duo, but I'm going to give you your 5 tips in 15 minutes. And we're going to start out with one, and we are going to cover that very aspect of innovation throughout my 5 tips. So I'm going to start with the Godfather, as one does.
One should.
My first tip is to become a consigliere, which is a trusted advisor for everyone that you're counseling. Engage with every client in a way that resonates with them without rolling over. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what else you do. If I had to name one superpower, which you just asked me about a minute ago, my superpower would be that. I cannot tell you how many different ways I have figured out how to do that over the years. And some of them I'd have to tell you over a drink because they're pretty creative. But you do this by observing people and how they behave and what they care about. And so one of the best ways to get at this point you just brought up, that privacy and data security don't hinder innovation, they enhance it, is by analogies and stories that are going to resonate with the group you're talking to or the person you're talking to. And I have a really good example of one of the worst groups. I had a new product development group that was very vocal in their hatred for lawyers. So you know walking in that you're behind the 8 ball. I did not mention the word compliance or the law once. What I brought was this photograph of a guy in an open air race car. He's just a guy, he's not a professional driver. It's not a race or anything. But the first thing you notice is he's going so fast that his cheeks are blown open and he's having the time of his life. I'm looking at it and I notice that he's got a 5-point harness on like you put on a baby booster seat. He's got a padded steering wheel. He's got a roll bar. And I'm thinking to myself, when he gets into the car, that's the first thing he notices is how safe he's going to feel. So he gets all that together and then he's allowed, to just go as fast as he wants and enjoy the ride. That's what we want for our customers. We want them to feel safe and secure in the experience so they forget about the controls you've put in place and they just enjoy the ride. And we don't think, I don't care what kind of car you have. If you have a Tesla or a Ferrari, you don't get in and say to yourself, ugh, these darn seatbelts and airbag, they ruin the elegance of my design. We wouldn't even think that. See, you're laughing. You wouldn't think that way. This is where data privacy and security controls are landing. They are entitlements now. So you aren't very innovative if you're not already designing with these things in place. So that's tip 1, is to figure out how you're going to have this superpower and be the consigliere that is the trusted advisor. And then you're invited to everything they're doing just because you're smart and fun to be around. Number 2 is to have a set of privacy principles that will guide the company. Now, why, some people may skip this, don't skip this. It's really a simple step, but it's a whole easy to understand lens by which you figure out and you help people understand what is the right thing to do with data. So it's especially important given that we have this crazy confluence right now of changing laws, processing speeds, technologies, data uses, experiences, feelings about privacy, because it's a very emotional thing for people. And they've created this whole mosh pit of ever-changing compliance and user experience requirements. So principles are easy to remember, they stand the test of time, they can work across various legal and technical frameworks. At Uber, we just took the Fair Information Practice Principles. Most people probably on the line right now understand what they are, but we've taken them, simplified them in our own terms so the business can understand them, like don't collect more data than you need. That's a simple principle, easy to remember. If you can plant just that one seed in somebody's mind, you come a long way to already being on the right side of ethics and the law without ever having to actually talk about the specificity of that.
All right, how about number 3?
Well, now you got to bring the principles to life, right? Principles alone don't get the job done. So one way is with a really robust privacy by design process that isn't too complicated, not too lengthy to kick off a new project. It's easy to find, and there's help along the way. People are going to need help along the way. So this is an increasing legal requirement anyway, but it's also a best practice. And frankly, at this point in our privacy journey, it's just a requirement for everyone. It's something that's foundational, truly foundational to any privacy program. So it's a necessary practice. But somebody out there is saying, well, I already have a process for that. Even if you have a satisfactory one, the fact is you have to be constantly improving it over time. And some of these even start manually, which is fine. But until you're at a place where this process is being used by everyone who should be using it, and you can get valuable insights, reporting, and metrics out of it, you are far from done.
All right, excellent. How about number 4?
All right, this one is my pitch for diversity and inclusion, because we are the perfect type of group to be doing this. You've got to, first of all, you've got to work across a broad range of people anyway to get your job done correctly. And so understanding the basics of somebody else's role, teaching them basics of your role as you're collaborating across the company, this is going to make for better decisions. We already know there's plenty of science out there that shows diversity is really helpful to make better decisions. So if you aren't already finding a way to do this, do it now. So at Uber, one way we do this is everybody who has a quasi-privacy role, we meet monthly in a cross-divisional meeting, and we bring a lot of perspectives to that meeting. First of all, just through job function, right? You've got the legal department, you've got the policy people, platform engineering, privacy engineering, the data protection officer, the law enforcement response team, the privacy product team. It's a whole group of us that bring all our different functional expertise, which is super important anyway. But we're also very diverse in gender, race, location, age, culture. This makes for much better learning and lenses on things that somebody else might have a blind spot on. So data privacy and security pros, since we're working with what is in fact personal data, personal data we know can invoke bias and equality issues, we know this. So ours is a practice area where we can really start a movement in our circles and make a difference to root this stuff out and fix it. So I would ask everyone who's listening right now to really give us more thought. Working with personal data gives us visibility into what's happening and the perfect inroad to be bringing up diversity and inclusion issues, not just because it's better for business, which I said we already know, but because it's the right thing to do. 5th one, have an unrelenting focus on efficiency. As you move along maturity, doesn't matter where you are always going to have to find ways to become more efficient. And it's a constant drumbeat. So one of the biggest challenges is lassoing the data, right? Unstructured data is a big problem, and cleaning it up, there aren't a lot of great tools out there. So that's why AI companies like TextIQ are out there to help us working to solve it, like a little automated bloodhound, sniffing out that data and helping us corral it into the dog pen.
There you go.
Yeah, so this one is really important, and you can leverage all kinds of existing processes, like for privacy and security by design. Go look at what the engineers and product people already have in place and put your touch points in there so they don't have to go through a second process.